Hey Board Game Maniacs, Maniac Rob here to bring you another exciting month of battle reports. This month is themed for Team Yankee by Battlefront. That's right, it's an incredible small scale miniature wargaming. It's roughly about 15 millimeters where you have tanks, helicopters, troops, jets, you name it. And you're taking fight and you're battling it out one-on-one between, like the Russians and the Germans or the US and the Russians, and there's so many different factions. The miniatures are incredible. They're very small scale. The troops are very small scale. I can't really say any more exciting about this because this game is incredible. It's been out for a little bit. You can check them out by going to team-yankee.com, and you can look at all of the types of tanks, all the types of warfare and goodies that you can get on that website where you can purchase it. They even have that you can buy like the terrain for it, like the parking lots, the roads, everything. And the great thing about the house terrain and everything that you get with it, it's already painted for you. So, you don't have to spend the time painting up buildings and assembling. They're assembled. You just stack one on top of each other. They're already painted and you're ready to go. And I've already put the miniatures together for one of the starter sets. And all this is just 5 tanks for the starter set. And I have to say, it took me no time at all. I was able to put them together and paint them lickety-split, which means really, really fast. And I found out how to do all of this by just going to that website that I mentioned, team-yankee.com, because they have a section there that you can click on, and it got all the information you need on how to build it, how to paint it. They even got templates that you can download from there, so if you want to do the camo pattern and everything else. It's a phenomenal website. It takes all the guesswork out of it. So please, go to team-yankee.com and check them out. This month, where we are none other than playing Team Yankee, I'm going to be up against a couple of opponents, and I have something honestly to say, and that is, I've never ever played this game before until now. Why did I want to get this game? Because it's a war game. It's 15 millimeter scale. Everything is incredible about it. I've been researching this game and it looks phenomenal. So what you're seeing today is going to be the first time I've ever put any of my tanks on the table to battle it out. I'm going to be playing none other than myself. So I'm going to be playing the US and I'm going to be playing the Soviets. So they're going to go head to head with the tank battle, and all we're doing is we're going to follow it directly from the book. I will show you what core set we're playing. I'll go over the first mission. We are going to try to play it bit by bit. Again, there may be some rules mistakes here, and if they're, just comment down below and let me know what they are. Refer to a page number, and this way I will learn more and more. So just hang on, jump into your tanks, and get ready to blast the other enemy tanks off of the ground, or off of the land in Team Yankee. Woo! Before we get started in this epic battle, I just want to mention that if you like this video and want to see more of Team Yankee, as well as many other different tabletop games and board games, as well as like video games and VR games and so on, don't forget to go to our YouTube channel, BoardGameManiacs. Click on the like, the subscribe, and the bell icon to be notified when more videos become available. We are using the box set Hammerfall World War III Battles. This says start here. This is the starting guide for this. And this pretty much is what we're doing for this first video of the month of Team Yankee. So let's take a quick peek inside here. Also too as well is, I did an unboxing video in the past where I unboxed this box set as well as one of the buildings that you can get from the company for Team Yankee. That's the book there. I'm just flipping it over because the artwork is incredible. And one thing they have is really, really great looking miniatures and really, really eye-catching artwork. In the unboxing video that I did, I had a special guest that came in. It's Mini Wargaming Josh. And him and I went through this core box. We talked about all the specs and everything. And also we looked at the building and how to put it together. It's already painted, it's already pre-assembled, but when I say put it together, it's 3 tiers that we open, you just stack one on top of each other. That's how simple it is. Don't forget, go to team-yankee.com and you can check all that information out too as well. So in here, I'm just flipping over here. In this book, it's the assembly guide, so it shows you the T-64 Soviets that you can build and the M1 Abrams too as well. And that's what I did. So I have 3 T-64s and I have 2 M1 Abrams that I built and painted in no time at all. Now, this right here, your first game, this is exactly what we are playing. So you can see the way the table is set up. I will show you what the table looks like where we set it up in a moment, but you can notice there's no roadways on this one. And we're going to keep it exactly like that, no roadways. The red is the Soviets, and the blue is the Americans, you can see here. And it also says Soviet player places their tanks here, American players places their tanks here. And again, I've never fielded any of this game before. This is the very first time I am playing this, and why not play it on camera for all you maniacs out there watching this? I'm just going to read this little blurb from the book. First off, after assembling your tanks and punching out the cardboard terrain, set them up as shown in the game map to the right. So this game map, you can see these buildings, and this is all cardboard terrain that is supplied into the box set. You just punch them and lay them down. But as everyone knows that is familiar with BoardGameManiacs, we don't just use cardboard terrain cutouts. That's fine. Every game comes with cardboard terrain cutouts and everything for different types of tabletop games and also your board games. But we go above and beyond, and we like using the 3D terrain. Why? Because it looks incredible on the board, and that's what we're going to do. We'll see the board set up in a second. Anyhow, I'm getting off topic here. Game turn consists of 4 steps. Starting. No need for the first turn. Movement, shooting, and assault. We will only need to worry about the first 3 at the moment because tanks do not assault each other. In this game, the Soviet player has the first turn getting to move and shoot. All of their tanks, getting to move and shoot all their tanks. I'm reading through the viewfinder, so I got to stop. I got to just, look at the book, not the viewfinder. In this game, the Soviet player has the first turn, getting to move and shoot all of their tanks. I just said that, see? Then, the American player follows the same steps. Players will keep alternating turns until one of them have destroyed all of the tank enemies. And from there, it goes on to your movement steps. Shows you how to read the cards. Your shooting steps. Shows you everything that you need to do. Your shooting quick reference. And your opponent for resolving it too as well. Your ending your turn and your starting step. So I just briefly glanced over this before I start recording the video. And this starting step, we're not doing it the first turn. This is going to be the second turn that we do the starting step. And then we just repeat until one team destroys the other. And then we have more missions too as well. I would like to play these on camera, which I'm probably going to do at some point. But right now we are going to focus on our very first game, which is right here. It's already set up. So let's go take a look at how I assembled and painted the miniatures. I'm not showing a video of that, but just the final result of it. Also, we're going to look at the tank cards, explain what each part of the tank card means, and also we're going to look at the gaming table itself. This is your card that you get for the M1 Abrams tanks. So the M1 Abrams, they're double-sided here. So this is the tank platoon, Team Yankee tank platoon, and this is just the specific stats for the M1 Abrams right here. Now, we're going to go over this in detail, and I'm reading this exactly out of the book because just so both of us learn. So it says in the book, let's look at your tank card and find out how far each tank can move. This we're talking about just the movement step first. Near the center of the card, there is a speed chart that shows the tank speed. So if you look here, I'm just going to pick that up. The middle of the center of it, which is like going across here, where my thumb is just rubbing in, a little glary. It is your tank speed. So, the M1 Abrams tactical. Tactical speed is the fastest you can move and shoot, and still shoot. Moving may reduce your rate of fire. We will get into that more in the shooting step, all right? So, I'm just reading this word for word out of the book, so I learned this, and you learn it too as well. You can cross terrain such as concrete walls at your tactical speed. So your tactical speed for this, for the M1 Abram is 14 inches or 35 centimeters. We are going by the inch one. We're not going to go by the centimeter, but it's still the same distance. It's just one in inches and one in centimeters. That is right. Pretty simple. Just a key thing to note here about what I read, and that is you can cross terrain such as concrete walls at your tactical speed. So for 14 inches, when you come across the concrete wall and you are going to drive over, pretty much or drive through it because you're a tank, you have to do which is a cross test. Now with this cross test, this is when you roll a die. What happens is you have to equal or exceed your tank's cross tech. If you pass, move as normal. So right where my thumb is, right here, for the M1 Abrams, you have to get 2 or higher to be able to pass that concrete wall. So that means, that's telling me these M1 Abram tanks are pretty darn powerful and they can just rip through concrete walls like nothing. Small concrete walls, not like a concrete wall of a building, but you know, like a little concrete barricade or what have you. So that's pretty cool for that. Whoops, hit the camera. Next thing we want to look at is the second box, which is your terrain dash. Terrain dash speed is the fastest you can move while crossing terrain. That's pretty much self-explanatory, so terrain dash. Next to that you see, which is right here, it is cross-country dash speed. It is the fastest you can move across open ground as long as you don't go through any terrain. So if you're not driving through any terrain, you're going to be able to move 28 inches for your movement. So that tank can go pretty fast as long as you're not going through any terrain. Now, on top of that, the second last one is a road dash. Because in this game, there is roads that you can drive on. So the road dash right here, and the road dash. Speed is the fastest you can move when your tank enters, entire move is on a road. So if you're on a road, and you're doing a road dash, you can go fast, you can go 32 inches. So just so we clarify, your tactical speed is 14 inches where you can go that fast and you can still shoot. Terrain dash is 18 inches and it's the fastest you can move while crossing terrain. Cross-country dash is the fastest you can move on open ground. That's not roads, it's cross-country. So as you can see on the map, you can see kind of here slightly, this would be kind of classified as cross-country because there's no roads. And then the road dash, the speed is the fastest you can move when the tank enters. The tank's entire move is on the road. So on your movement speed, if you're on cross-country and you're driving onto a road, you can't do the full road dash of 32 inches. You actually are, because you're starting your movement onto the cross-country dash. So therefore you can only go to 28 inches, but on your next turn, you'd be able to move to 32 inches. A thing to note here too as well is you see tactical dash, cross-country dash, road dash. It says in the book here, you cannot shoot after a dash speed. So use these to reposition quickly when you don't plan on shooting. So pretty much to sum that part up, what I'm understanding here is on your turn, if you're going to want to shoot at the tanks and move, you're going to have to, you choose your tactical speed. You don't want to choose any other one that has dash into the keyword. So terrain dash, cross-country dash, and road dash. If you choose to do that, you're only going to be doing that to go fast and reposition your tank in a better spot. So on your next turn, you're going to be able to open fire and try to shoot at the enemy tanks. As I mentioned before about moving over concrete walls. Now, as I showed you before, for the first game that we're playing, it does have some concrete wall barriers. And to do that, you're going to have to make a cross check. And with the M1 Abrams, it's a plus, or 2+. You have to get 2 or higher to be able to pretty much break through that concrete wall barrier and keep moving. If you roll lower than that, you know, you cannot do it. You fail at keeping on moving. If you do fail at doing your cross check when you're trying to go through the concrete barrier in this game, or just difficult terrain. Just say, for instance, what happens, your tank stops when it reaches the terrain and becomes bogged down. A bogged down tank team cannot move, shoot, or assault until the next turn, when it automatically frees itself and can move as normal. I'm reading this word for word out of the book. And what I'm gathering at is very basic, very plain. So when you're making your cross check, if you fail, you're going to become touching that concrete wall barrier in this game specifically, and then you are bogged down. When you're bogged down, you can't move, you can't shoot, you can't do anything until your next turn, and then on the start of your next turn, you're free to move. And that's what I get out of that. A very important note to take of this too, as well, as no movement through buildings. Tanks can't move through buildings. They must go around them. Obviously, well, you see in like the war movies and everything, a tank, he just kind of plows through the side of a building. But in this game, you actually have to drive around them. You can't plow through the side of it. So just keep that in mind. If you're thinking, hey, I'm like from Saving Private Ryan or something, I'm going to run through the whole building. No, you have to drive around it. What we're looking at here is the T64 tank card. Now the reason why I'm posting this one now is so that we can compare directly the M1 Abrams movement to the T64 movement. If you already know this game and you just want to watch a battle report, please feel free to just skip ahead to the part where I start playing it. But again, I'm doing this for my benefit, as well as the benefit for all the viewers that don't know how to play this game but want to get into it. Again, I've never played this game. I want to learn, so we are going through this in detail. This first battle report may take a little bit of time, and if so, I apologize, but I want to do this so that I can learn how to play this game. And that is my spiel about that. So let's compare both of these movements. So the T64. Let's look at the tactical speed for the T64. It is 14 inches. The M1 Abram is also 14 inches. The terrain dash is 16. The terrain dash on the M1 Abram is 18. So the M1 Abram is just a little bit faster than the T64. Cross-country dash is 24. The cross-country dash on the M1 Abram is 28. So again, it is faster than what the T64 is. Road dash is 32 on the M1 Abram. Road dash for the T64 is 28. So definitely slower there. The cross is interesting too as well, because if you look here, for the cross for the T64, you have to roll a 3+. But remember, with the M1 Abrams, you only have to roll a 2+ to be able to go through that concrete barrier. That concludes the movement step for both, and comparing what each one looks like on the tanks for the M1 and the T64. Next, let's talk about the shooting step. So when you shoot with one of your tanks, you have to do, the first thing you're going to do is check line of sight and range. So for the line of sight and range, a tank can only shoot at a target if it can see it. Pretty much that makes sense. So if a tank is behind a building, and you can't see it because the tank is behind the building, that's very common sense. A player must be able to trace an imaginary line of sight from the shooting tank to the target tank. If a target is completely hidden behind a building or one of your friendly tanks, you cannot shoot at it. That makes sense too as well. So if you're shooting, if one of your tanks turned that is in the back a little bit further distance from one that's up front, and the enemy tank is kind of hidden behind one of your friendly tanks, you're obviously not going to shoot at it, because if you do, you're just going to hit your own friendly tank. And that is known as friendly fire, and we do not want, we do not want to get friendly fire. And just to sum up for checking your line of sight and range, you can only shoot at tanks that are into your range of your weapon or your gun. You can't shoot at a tank that is further away. After you determine your line of sight and your range, the next thing you want to do is check for concealment. So pretty much what that means is, okay, I want to shoot at the T64. This is the M1 Abram talking. So I want to find out if I can shoot. So line of sight check first and the range. Then on top of that, it is check for concealment. Once you have chosen a target that you can draw a line of sight to and that is in range, check whether the tank is concealed and thus harder to hit. It is concealed if it is behind a concrete wall or more than half is hidden by a building. So pretty much, if you can only see like the front part of a tank that is sticking out from behind the building, you cannot shoot it. It has to be more than half is not concealed. Or if the tank is behind a concrete wall, then when you shoot, chances are you may hit the concrete barrier. So you got to keep that in mind too as well. Because we are playing the very first mission in the book, we don't have to worry about the MG weapons, the machine gun weapons, because we're only using the tank's main gun for this first gameplay to make it simple for me. So let's look at the next part, which is going to be down here. You can see, let's straighten the card a little bit there. All right, so the first line across here, let's look at this one. And that is going to be as follows. If your tank did not move, you roll the number of dice given by its halted rate of fire. That's the halted ROF. ROF stands for rate of fire, if anybody's wondering. If your tank moved at tactical speed, remember, you can only shoot if you move to tactical speed. You cannot shoot if you do any of the dashes. So if your tank moved to tactical speed, you roll the number of dice given by its moving rate of fire. So you can see here, you have their halted rate of fire is 2 for the M1 Abram. For the moving, it's also 2 dice. So you don't get any penalties there that I'm looking at for this, which is really good. Just as I'm reading in the book here, I'll read this word for word. Both the M1 Abrams and the T-64s have stabilizers, so shooting just as well moving as halted. Pretty much, they have these stabilizers built into their tank so that when they are driving and they shoot, they're not going to take any penalties because the stabilizer stabilizes their main weapon so that when they fire, it's still as accurate as if they were standing still. Other tanks are, I'm assuming in the game you do not have stabilizers, so because that you're going to have penalties. Maybe the penalties could be that it's a -1 to hit or 1 less dice or what have you. But just remember, in this game, the Abrams and the T-64s both have stabilizers, so we're going to be able to move and shoot the same as if we are standing still and shooting. When you roll the dice, so let's look at the halted rate of fire. So you roll 2 dice. You hit on a 4+. So when you roll them 2 dice, you have to get a 4+. So a 4 or more to hit. Concealed tanks are harder to hit. Add +1 to the score needed to hit them. Likewise, if a target is over 16 inches, also add a +1 to the score needed to hit them. Pretty much just to sum that up, so let's look at the range of the M68 105mm gun. It's 40 inches. If you are shooting a tank that is under 40 inches and is not concealed in any way, all you need to hit is a 4+ to successfully hit that tank. But if that tank is concealed, as in more than half of it is hidden behind a building or it's in front of a concrete barrier or a wall, then you have to add a +1 to the score to need to hit them. So instead of a 4+ to hit, you need a 5+ to hit. If your enemy tank is over 16 inches, then you're going to have to add the +1 to hit that tank too as well. So this is an example. Just say that your M1 Abram is halted and is shooting at a tank. The tank is 32 inches away from you and it is behind a concrete barrier. So then you would roll the 2 dice. So normally you would have to hit it on a 4+, but because you were over 16 inches and it's behind a concrete barrier, you're going to have to add a +1 because it's over 16 and a +1 because it is in concealment. So therefore you would have to hit it on a 6. Just like a lot of rules, there's always exceptions to them rules. Now, I'm reading this word for word again. Laser, rangefinder, or guided. So if your tank is equipped with a laser, rangefinder, or guided, pretty much what it is that 16-inch rule over half, well, not over half, but anything over 16 inches when you're shooting, if you have the laser rangefinder, then you don't add that +1 to hit. But if they are in concealment, you still have to add that +1. So just clarify into that. Laser rangefinder or guided, over 16 inches, you don't have to add the +1 to hit. But if they're concealed, you still have to add one of the +1s instead of the +1 for concealment and +1 over 16 inches. Also in the book for this hammer fall, on page 5, it gives you a shooting step quick reference. Check the line of sight and range. Check for concealment. Roll to hit. Opponent rolls. Saves. We're going to talk about the saves right now, but again, just to let you know, on page 5 it does show a little quick reference, which is really good. And after we go over the opponent roll saves, then we're going to compare the T-64 to the M1 Abrams shooting and see if one is better than the other. So far for the movement, the M1 Abrams are a little bit faster than the T-64s. So we're on step number 4 of the quick shooting reference, which is the opponent roll saves, not slaves. For each hit, the target player rolls a die and adds their tank's front or side armor, then compares the total to the shooting tank's anti-tank number. If the save is less than the anti-tank number, beats your tank's firepower to destroy it, otherwise it is bailed out. If the save equals the anti-tank number, beat your tank's firepower to make the tank bail out, otherwise it is unharmed. If the save is more than the anti-tank number, the tank is unharmed. And that is through the quick reference. It does explain a little bit more in detail onto page 6, which we'll go over now. When a tank is hit, there's a chance for the armor, which you can see the front and side armor here, can protect it. So when you're shooting, you have to take into account if you're over the 16-inch, and you have to take into account that if it is over 16 inches, you're going to have to add a +1 to your roll. On top of that too as well, you got to look if you have the laser rangefinder or guided. If the save roll plus the armor number is less than the anti-tank number, the shooting player rolls another die and compares it to their tank's firepower number. You can see here where my finger is, the anti-tank number of the M1 Abram is 20, and the firepower number is a 2+. Let's just simplify that part, that one section, just a little bit more. It is kind of straightforward, but just to simplify it a little bit more. So the M1 Abram is shooting at the T-64. It is over 16 inches away, but you can see the M1 Abram has advanced stabilizers and laser rangefinder. Say the T-64 is in the open, so therefore it don't get any penalty whatsoever because it also has the laser rangefinder. Why am I having a hard time saying this? So it rolls, and to hit the T-64, it has to be a 3+. So just say that the M1 Abram rolls player and gets a 4. So therefore it did hit. So then you're going to have to look at what it says here in the book. If the owning player, which is the one that's getting shot at, the owning player then rolls a die for each hit. So just say out of the 2 shots, the M1 Abram only hit the T-64 just once. That's it. Out of the 2 shots, it's just once. The M1 Abram has shot, like I said, I had to stop there for a second because I just had a little bit of a cough. I'm still getting over a cold. So the T-64 player rolls the die for that one hit. And what you do after you roll it, I'm just reading the book here, the owning player rolls a die for each hit, adds their tank's front or side armor. So I rolled a 4, just say, or the T-64 rolled a 4. So the front armor of the T-64 is 17. So 17 plus 4 is 21. I think that's what it is. I can do math. After you do that, so you got 21. And if the range is over 16 inches, add the additional +1 to the armor value. But he has that laser rangefinder, so you will not add that +1 to it. And And then compare it to the shootings tank's anti-tank rating. So again, down here, the anti-tank rating is 20, and I got a 21, or the T-64 got a 21. If the save roll plus the armor number is less than the anti-tank number, the shooting player rolls another die and compares it to the tank's firepower number. So because the T-64 rolled a 21 and it is higher than the anti-tank at 20, what happens is it's not going to destroy that tank. Just say, for instance, now that the T-64 player rolled lower than what the anti-tank firepower of the M1 Abram is. So then if that's the case, then the M1 Abram player will have to roll another die and compare it to the firepower number. So just say he rolled another die, I'm just rolling it here, and he got a 3. So it is equal or higher than the 2 plus, so he's got a 3. So because of that, the T-64 tank would be destroyed. If it is less than the firepower number, the target tank is bailed out. So you can see the firepower number. So if he rolls less than a 2, so if he rolls a 1, then the tank is bailed out. And that's pretty much how the tank will bail out. One of the ways the tank will bail out, we'll just talk about the other one right now too as well. If the saving roll plus the armor number exactly equals anti-tank rating, so if the T-64 rolls and it exactly equals the anti-tank rating of 20 for the M1 Abram, the shooting player rolls another die, compares it to their tank's firepower. So just say that the T-64 rolled and it was plus his front armor equal 20, then the M1 Abram's going to roll the firepower, and if he rolls and it's a 2 plus, if the score matches or beats the firepower number, the tank is bailed out. If it is less than the firepower number, nothing happens. So he's going to roll for the firepower number. If he gets 1, then nothing happens to the tank. But if he gets 2 or higher, then the tank inhabitants are going to be bailed out. If the save roll plus the armor number is higher than the anti-tank rating, the tank armor has saved it and nothing happens. Hope that clarifies everything for the shooting part. Just to touch upon like the front armor and the side armor, because you can see here 18 for the front, 8 for the side, 2 for the top. And then you have the IPM-1, which is more of an advanced tank. 19 is the front, 10 is the side, and 2 is the top. So you can see the advanced, the IPM-1 is pretty much, it's a little more intensive. It has a lot more heavy armor power than if you have like your standard M1s. Now, when the tank is shooting and if it is hitting the front of the tank by an imaginary line, remember to draw line of sight, then you're going to take into account the front armor. If it's not touching the front hull, then you're going to use the side armor. And then the top would be more, I think, as if like a helicopter or a jet is coming in to shoot at it. Then you would consider that. This game is so detailed. This is incredible. I just want to read this little insert too as well on page 6 of the core book of the starter set. And it says, heat. Some weapons fire heat ammunition, such as the AT-8 Sogster missile fired by the T-64. Heat weapons ignore the +1 to the target's armor for hits from over 16 inches. So just say that over 16 inches, you don't have the laser sighting to help you for the, or the range finder, I should say, for the 16 inches, but you're shooting the heat weapons. So you're going to ignore that +1 to hit onto the armor. Really cool. However, some tanks have special armor designed to stop heat rounds, like the Cobham armor on the M1 Abram that increases their side armor from 8 to 16 if hit by heat. Whoa. So if they're hit on the side, because they have the special armor about the heat, so if a heat round hits it, their armor is doubled. So it goes to 16 for their... That's really good for the M1 Abram. That is crazy. Funny story about this is, in the book it's talking about destroyed tanks. When I assembled them, I wanted to glue the turret onto the body of the tank, but I didn't, and I'm glad I didn't because of this specific reason. Destroyed tanks. If a tank is destroyed, move its turret to indicate that the tank is destroyed. A destroyed tank provides concealment like a concrete wall. Pretty much, I'm glad I didn't glue the turret to the base of the tank. So last but not least, bailed out tanks. If your tank is bailed out, mark it with the bailed out token. It cannot move or shoot until you manage to remount it in the starting step of one of your future turns. Okay, and I'm going to show you what a bailed out marker looks like. I'm just going to lay it on top of the card. It is right here. So that is a bailed out marker. Let me see here. If your bailed out tank takes another hit that results in it being bailed out again, instead of placing another bailed out token on it, you immediately roll a die. Ooh, this is interesting. So because you're bailed out, you can't try to shoot or move because you were bailed out. There's nobody in the tank to control it. And again, where am I at? Yes, sorry, okay. If your bailed out tank takes another hit that results in it being bailed out again, instead of placing another bailed out token on it, you immediately roll a die. If the score matches or beats your remount number, your tank remains bailed out, but suffers no further penalty. If it is less, the tank is destroyed. Oh, that is not good. So if you look here, I'm just going to move this out of the way. So right here, courage +4, and you can see morale is 4, remount is 2. So you're going to roll a die because you were bailed out. So I rolled a die and I got a 3. So I got a 2+. And if the score matches or beats the remount number, your tank remains bailed out but suffers no further penalty. So therefore, if this was shot and it was bailed out to M1 Abram and where I rolled a 3, it's still bailed out. But if it's less, the tank is destroyed. So if I rolled a 1 for doing the remount for the bailout, that would mean that my poor M1 Abram would be totally and utterly destroyed. The last step that you would do to end your turn would be the assault step. But because this here is the core game, the very first game that I am learning to play, I am not using any infantry units, so we are not going to be doing the assault step. But just so everybody would know there, so the assault step pretty much is that your infantry units would go out to fight hand-to-hand combat. And because it is the basic game, we're not going to do that part. So just please note that when we are going to the battlefield to attack. After the first round is over, we go back to the second round where you're going to do, which is called the starting step. In the starting step, at the beginning of your turn, you will check your troops' morale and attempt to rally any that are faltering. In addition, all bogged down vehicles free themselves and can move as normal this turn. So remember I talked about the bogged down vehicle. So when you are trying to pretty much drive over or through a concrete barrier and you fail the cross check, your tank will become bogged down. So at the beginning of your starting of your next turn, your tank is no longer bogged down, just so we're clear on that point. Because we don't have any infantry on the board for this game, we're not really having to worry about the rallying for the morale of the tanks, or not the tanks, but the infantry. We're going to go jump onto, I only need to worry about remounting any bailed out tanks. If you have any bailed out tanks, roll a die for each of them. If the score matches or beats your remount number, remove the bailed out token. The tank can now move and shoot normally again. If it is less, the tank remains bailed out. So as I said before, you can see for this M1 Abram as an example, for the remount it's a 2+. So if I roll a die, I just rolled a 6, so therefore they jump back in the tank and they're able to move and shoot again. But if I got a 1, they still remain bailed out. And that's pretty much it for the starting step phase. And everything we covered up to this point is into this core book for the hammer file to start here. Now, there is more rules that you can go over and everything, but it is into the books themselves, like the main rule book for it. And it does say here, for movement, if you want to know more about the movement, you can go to the main rule book, and it's on another page. I've seen it somewhere here. I'm just trying to find it. I think it's like page 20 to the main rule book. In either case, sorry about that. In either case, we're just going to stick with the start here rules for the hammer file, and we're going to do a battle. Woohoo! I'm excited about this. I totally forgot that we have to go over what I said in the first part, which is compare the M1 Abrams to the T64, their weapon range and so forth. So we're just talking about their main gun. So the M1 Abrams M68 105 gun has a range of 40 inches. On the T64, it has 125 millimeter 2A46 gun. It has 32 inches, so it is a shorter range. Optional, an AT-8 Sagmaster missile has 48 inches. So when I'm shooting with the T64, I can either choose to use the 125 mil or I can use the AT-8. The AT-8 is going to be 48 inches, and the 125 is 32 inches. So they have a different type of rate of fire there. So also let's look at the rate of fire halted and moving. So for the M1 Abrams, the halted and moving is both 2. For the T64, the halted and moving is 1. That's right, so you roll 1 die, not 2. The anti-tank rating on the M1 Abrams is 20. The anti-tank rating on the T64 is 22, but if I use the AT-8, it's 21. The firepower on the M1 Abrams is a +2. The firepower for my T64 is 2+. And also too as well, the optional, the AT-8 missile is 3+. Now, with the T64, special notes here are brutal, laser, rangefinder, advanced stabilizer. And for the AT-8 missile, it's heat and guided. And you can see here for the M1 Abrams, it's advanced stabilizer and laser rangefinder for the M68 105 millimeter gun. And that is that for the firepower for the T64 compared to the M1 Abrams. Interesting. Again, we're not covering the MGs because we're only using the main gun when we're shooting. Now for the T64, I may switch between shooting the A46 gun, or 2A46 I should say, or the AT-8 missile. We'll see. In any case, I'm ready to go to battle. I hope you are too. Let's go to the battlefield and start destroying some tanks. You can see the table is set up. It's a very simplistic table. Again, it is my first game, so I'm following exactly what it shows into the book, how to set it up. So you have your concrete barriers, and you have your building and 2 other buildings too as well. And you can see here, we have one of the M1 Abrams starting on this side, which is exactly there. It's kind of behind this larger building. And way over here, we have the other M1 Abrams right there. And swinging over here, we have our two T64 tanks right here. And we have the other T64 tank right here. So, clear my throat there. You can see it's a very basic setup. I'm not going to go on the outskirts here. I just want to go in and try to start destroying some tanks and so on and see what's going to happen here. This table is a 6x4 that I am playing on, and I just made it more closer proximity so that we can just start destroying tanks right away. When you set this game up, you could pretty much set it up this way instead, so it's a longer distance for more ranges, but I wanted to get right into the nitty-gritty of shooting right away, so that's why I set it up this way. But ultimately, with the book, where it's showing you the setup, you can set it up the other way if you prefer. And that is it for the table setup. I think it looks pretty cool. That's the buildings that you get from Battlefront. Awesome, awesome, awesome buildings. And again, like I said, they're sectional, they come pre-painted. You just take them, you stack them on top of each other, or you can place them, you know, other buildings. You can put your troops inside and everything. Really cool buildings, and it's just blowing my mind that they're already pre-painted. Let's take a quick peek here while we're just doing this. So this here is my Soviet T-64 tank that I painted up. I think I painted it up pretty well. I like it. On the other side, oh look, there's nothing painted on the other side because the tank is always this way. And as you can see, the turret is not glued down. Woohoo! It's really cool. I like it. So let's go on with the game, shall we, and start destroying some tanks. It's time to battle. Woo, baby. I was waiting for this. This is going to be a lot of fun. All right. So to do the battle, the way it goes is because in the book it does say that the Soviets are going to go again. I am going by the basic rules. I'm probably not going to use a lot of the movement orders, but just to let you know, you get another card, which is, this has a picture of the T-64 as well as M1 Abrams. Got another card like that, and you flip it over. It does have other skills that you can do, like a blitz move, follow me, shoot and scoot, crosshair, or dig in. I may not really follow these. I may just go with the basics of basics for this first game. But when we advance onto the second video for the Month of Team Yankee that we're in right now, the second video, probably going to try to incorporate all the other rules when I'm up against another opponent. But for right now, we are just going to go with just basic move and shoot, just so I can get familiar with all of the basic rules before doing the movement orders and so on. So that is what we're going to do first off, just so everybody's clarified onto that. Whew, all right. So first thing we're going to do is the Soviets into the book. It does say that they are going first. Soviets turn first. I am moving this T-64 first. Again, I'm just going by the basic rules. I'm not doing like one of them is the team captain or so forth. I just want to get familiar with the shooting and movement rules. The next video will be a lot more intense with the rules. So first off, he's moving, and the T-64 has his basic movement, tactical movement of 14 inches, or I can dash more, but I'm not going to be able to shoot. But I only want to do 16-inch, or the tactical move of 14, I should say. But the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to go up 8 right here. Actually, hang on a second. I'm not going to move my full 14. Maybe I'll do 10. Yeah, I'm going to move 10. So I'm going to go right here. And you can pivot while you're doing it because it is tactical, and you know, as long as you're facing kind of the same way. So he is going to go right here so that he's going to be able to shoot one of the M1 Abrams, which is off camera over there. But anyhow, that is going to be the first one. Now I have to move the other 2 tanks, and then I'm able to go to the shooting phase. My next T-64 right here is going to also move up to 14 inches. So yeah, I'm going to move. It's kind of off camera. Oh no, I'm still here. I'm still here. He's going to move there so that 2 of them are going to try to whack that M1 Abram right there. Hopefully we're going to do some damage. And then my last T-64, he's going to go straight up and move to 14 inches to right there. It's kind of, you can't see because the house is in the way, but hey, that's okay. So therefore, that's the movement. I'll get a different camera and we'll show you where all the T-64s are at in relation to the M1 Abrams. You can see the 2 T-64s have a clear line of sight on that one M1 Abram. And if you swing it over a bit here, you can see the other T-64 is here. And just pull it back a bit. It does have line of sight onto that M1 Abrams. So both tanks are covered by my 3 Soviet tanks. Now it's time to do some rolling and see what kind of damage is going to happen. We're going to start off with this tank right here is going to shoot first. Now, he's going to shoot with his primary weapon, which is the 2A46 gun. It has a range of 32 inches. He does have the laser rangefinder, and he has the stabilizer. But the thing is Even if it was over the 16 inches, he's not going to get a penalty, a +1 penalty for that, because he has the laser rangefinder. You can tell he's pretty close though from looking on camera. He's just going to shoot into him, and he does get the +1 penalty because he is shooting over the stone wall barricade. So let's go to the dice rolling box and see if we can take some damage onto this M1 Abram. T-64 has a rate of fire of 1, and it's the same as if he moves or is halted. They have stabilizers, so don't suffer any penalties. And to hit the M1 Abram, again, it is going to be, the hit is a +4, but because he has to add the +1 because of the wall, so he has to get a 5+ to hit. Whoa, that's a 6. That means he definitely did something to the M1 Abram, but we don't know what the heck the M1 Abram is. So to find out if he does any damage, you look at the front armor, which is 18 of the M1 Abram. We have to roll a d6 and add that, and it has to be better than the anti-tank power of 22 of the T-64. Let's see. Oh, he's got a 2. So because of that, 18 plus 2 is going to be 20. It is lower than 22. So that means that that tank is going to take some kind of damage. That hurts. Now we have to see if maybe that tank is going to be destroyed. So you look again at the T-64, and as I showed on the card earlier, the firepower is a 2+. All the T-64 has to do to destroy the M1 Abram is get higher than a 2+. If it succeeds, then that tank is going to be totally destroyed. Oh, he gets a 6. Ouch. So therefore, that M1 Abram is goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. Whew. Oh no. We removed the turret, and I'm just placing a little explosion thing that I made with cotton and a base of a miniature. Boom! Just like that. So this tank is no longer in the game, except for it's just a piece of scenery that the other tank can use to just hide behind for concealment. That's about it. So that's one tank down on the US side. On to the second T-64, and as you can tell, I'm shooting him at the Abram tank right over there. And again, it's going to be the same because the over 16-inch mark does not matter. But because he's shooting over a stone wall, he's got to take a +1 penalty. So to hit this M1 Abram, it's going to have to be a +5. Let's go to the dice rolling box and see what happens with this guy right here. Here we go. We got to see if he's going to get some damage here. So remember, it's a +5, not a +4. 6. The Soviets are on fire tonight. That's it. They're just whamming them, banging them, bamming them. So now, saving throw for that tank. He's got to get a good roll. Gets a 5. I think that is a pretty good roll. Because when you add the front armor of 18 to the 5 for the saving throw, which is higher than the anti-tank of the T-64, it is just a glancing hit. They don't bail out, they don't do nothing. It just, bing, it just bounces off the side, and the tank is fine. Lucky, lucky, lucky. Because I placed the last T-64 in this area just as a follow-up to shoot the one that actually got destroyed, he can't see the tank because the building, the blue building, which is right here, is hiding the line of sight from the M1 Abram. So therefore, this tank cannot shoot anything. Now we are on to the US side with the M1 Abram to try to act some revenge for his fallen brother. Let's see what happens. Here we go. So he is going to move at a tactical speed too as well. And his tactical speed, if I do recall, is going to be 14 inches. And he's got a range of his gun of 40 inches with 2 rates of fire, so he may be able to take some revenge here. So 14 inches. Let's go. Do you know what? We're just going to go with a full 14 inches. Do you know why? Because we can. So he's... And he's like, you know what? You killed one of my brothers. Now it's time to suffer the wrath of the U.S. Army. That's right. We're going to destroy you. Let's go to the rolling dice and see what's going to happen. Now, actually, I'll show you the camera angle first just so you know how close proximity it is when they're shooting. Ooh, so look how close this is. Like, that is well under 16 inches. But now, he's going to shoot into his front armor, and maybe he's going to destroy this T-64 from the Soviets. Let's go to the dice rolling box and check it out. To hit the T-64, it is hit on a 3. Now, it is under the 16 inches, and there's no obstacle, so it's plain. He just has to have at least a +3 on one of the die, or 3+. So his rate of fire is 2, so 2 dice. Oh, hits it twice. Ouch! So now the Soviets have to try to make a saving roll for the 2 hits, not 1. This is going to be interesting. We'll do these one at a time. So first saving throw. Let's see. So he's got a 3 plus his front armor of 17, which is 20. And the anti-tank is a 20. Whoa. So that means that because it is equal, then we have to take one more die for the US and see if it is going to be equal or higher than the rate of fire. And then I think the tank bails out if I'm not mistaken. I'll double check the rules after I roll. But that's a 4 because they got a +2 for their firepower. So I think they're going to bail out. I'll double check on that though. I just checked in the rule book, and that's exactly what happens. Because it was exactly equal to the front armor plus the, actually no, it was equal to the anti-tank value of 22. Then rolled another die, he succeeded, he got better than a 2 because that was the firepower of the M1 Abram. This tank, they just bailed out, and they're sitting ducks. Now, because there's another shot, could potentially destroy this Soviet tank. So let's go and see if that's going to be destroyed or is it going to maintain itself. Here comes hit number 2. So it was a successful hit. So now, got to roll again. Actually, no. Got to roll a saving roll, sorry, for the Soviet. Got a 3 plus his front armor of 17. So it is a 20 for this. And the anti-tank is the same thing. It's a 20. So therefore, the US rolls another one and it needs a 2+. Gets a 3. So therefore, it does successfully do this. And the same thing happens is the tank would bail out, but because it's already bailed out, they're going to have to do another test. What we do in this case, now for the T-64, we're going to make a test with 1 die. And when you roll it, you have to look onto the card for the T-64, and the remount is a +3. So you can see the remount right here. So because the remount is a +3, one of 2 things is going to happen. If the score matches or beats your remount number, your tank remains bailed out but suffers no further penalty. If it is less, the tank is destroyed. So if I get a 2 or less, the tank is destroyed. Oh boy. Guess what? The US has just got revenge because that other tank now is destroyed as well. That M1 Abram is holding its own. So turret gets removed. Come on, get out of there. There we go. And it is destroyed. That's my sound of it being destroyed. Oh, 1 apiece. Now, that ends the first round. Now, something special is going to happen for this second round because we're going to start doing what's called a starting step. I read it before, but I will just sum it up again. For the start of the second round, we're going to be doing the starting step now because when we start at the game, you don't do the starting step. But in this one, if we had infantry, then you would check for the morale, but we don't. We don't have to worry about that. And if there's any bailed tanks, then you would see if they jump back in the tank and be able to drive again. But as you can see, this tank was just totally destroyed right now. So therefore, we don't have to do the starting step. We are back on to the turn for the Soviets are able to go. Oh, let's see if the M1 Abram sole and lonely tank is gonna hold his own and stay in the battle. Alrighty, here goes nothing. So all I'm doing with these is I'm going to tactically advance them up to the wall so that they can shoot, have line of sight, both of them, so that both of them can take shots at the last M1 Abram tank. It may be the end. We will see if he's going to be able to hold his own, though. They only have a rate of fire of 1, so I'm just going to move him up here. And, you know, he's going to move up here, too, as well. Remember, you can't shoot over your friendly models. It is friendly fire, and you can't do it because chances are you're going to be able to destroy your friendly tank, so you don't want to do that. But anyhow, you can see both of them are in line of sight. There's nothing stopping them except for that one wall, but they are touching the barricade. So because they're touching the barricade, I don't think they suffer the -1 penalty. I will double check for that, but I think they're fine to shoot because both of them are touching the barricade. Just double checked in the book, and because they are pretty much on top of the stonewall barricade, they don't suffer a minus or a plus penalty when they're shooting. Oh, this is not looking good at all for the M1 Abram. If I am making a mistake for this, please comment down below. Refer to a page number and timestamp where this part of the video is to let me know, because without you, I'm going to be stumbling over, in any game pretty much, I'm going to be stumbling over the rule set. But this rule book is pretty clear cut and very easy to follow, the Team Yankee rule set. Like, I'm very impressed with it. Like, sometimes I stumble through and I have a hard time trying to find what I'm looking for, but I found it in the matter of seconds. Thank you very much for this. This is awesome. All right, so let's go to the dice rolling box and let's see if the M1 Abrams is going to be able to sustain itself and stay in the fight. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Rate of fire for the first T-64 is 1. And let's see what it gets. It's off camera, but it's a 5. So because it hits a 5, what happens is that for the hit the M1 Abram, I have to say, it's on a 4+. It got a 5, so it did successfully hit. So now M1 Abram makes a saving roll. Gets a 2. So 2 plus the front armor, because it is actually hitting. No, it's hitting in the side armor from the angle that, oh boy, this is not looking good at all. Side armor is 8. So 8 plus 2 is 10. So because of that, oh, it definitely hit because the anti-tank is 22. So now we have to roll again, and all it needs to do is get a 2+ to take some damage here. 2+. So therefore, it successfully hit the M1 Abram, and I think that is it for the M1 Abram. Just to show a different perspective here, because this T-64 was shooting at the M1 Abram, and if I get focus of that M1 Abram right there, hopefully the camera, there we go. So it focusing, you can clearly see that it is hitting into the side armor. So that just means one thing and one thing only, and that is this M1 Abram is destroyed. Bam! That's my noise of being destroyed. Oh no, so that just means that the Soviets have won this battle. Not the war, but this battle in this fictitious World War III, because it's not Team Yankee is not based on World War II. It's based on what possibly could happen if, you know, for the Cold War and everything else. I'm not going to go into the details. It is all in the book. You can look it up. You can go to their website too as well. Team Yankee, or team-yankee.com, I should say. That's exactly it. Anyhow, wow, this is such a fun game. Easy to pick up, easy to learn. Again, we played more of the basic rules here. There you have it, Board Game Maniacs. I hope you enjoyed this first video into the month of none other than Team Yankee. That's right, I am excited to play more of this. I'm kind of scared at the same time to play with another opponent because I'm still learning the game. I don't know all the rules inside out, but this definitely opened my eyes and helped me see the rules and learn the rules. Hopefully I didn't make too many rules mistakes. If I did, again, comment down below, refer to a page number in the rule book, and also timestamp so that I know exactly what it is. Battlefront, you made an awesome game. Thank you very much. I love it. I love it a lot. Hope you guys enjoyed the battle report, because I certainly did. You can see that the U.S. forces, the M1 Abrams, were just pretty much outnumbered, and they just didn't have luck. The rolls were against them this time, I guess. Whew, I'm excited to play this, and what I'm going to be doing on the channel is I'm going to be playing two other guests. I'm trying to line up now so that when this video does come aired, that I will have the guests secured, but there is going to be 4 videos released this month in March for Team Yankee, because it is Team Yankee month on Board Game Maniacs. You can go to our Facebook page. Just go to facebook.com/BoardGameManiacs, and you will see our calendar for our shooting schedule per month, and you will see that last month was, if I can recall, Gloomhaven. That's right. So last month was Gloomhaven. This month is Team Yankee. We started off the new year with The Walking Dead All at War by Maniac Games. Next month, I'm not telling you exactly what it is yet. It's going to be a surprise. But I'm just looking forward to playing more of Team Yankee, because it is a very easy game to pick up. I love the look of the miniatures. I love that the buildings are already pre-painted. No assembly required except just stacking them on top of each other. Pretty easy. We played like a small area. I'd say it's like a 4x4 area that we played on. But you can play on a 6x4, shooting distant ranges, and you know, your dashes are going to make more of an impact. You have to really plan everything out to get strategically placed so that you can go in and fire at the enemy tanks. Now the thing is, I'm learning too as well, is it's better, because you've seen right here, it's better, or actually this one I mean with the black smoke, it's better to shoot them from the side than what it is on the front, because they get less armor and it's easier to damage them or destroy them. The only thing is, if I use the heat gun, remember their side armor on the M1 Abrams would be doubled pretty much. It'd be from 8 side armor, it'd go up to 16 because it had that armor. But you may have to pay for points and everything. I didn't go over the point cost of everything. I'm going to leave that to another video. So the next video, hopefully that it's going to be shown, is I'm going to be up against an opponent, and we're going to play a specific point list, and we'll get into more detail of how much each points are worth, and we may even play the same US against the Soviets, or we may play a different faction or a different army. Who knows? Like, the possibilities are endless. I just know that I had a tremendous amount of fun. Even though I was playing against myself, it's really hard to play against yourself, I have to say. But in any case, I hope you enjoyed this video. And remember, like, subscribe, click the bell icon to be notified for some more videos on our Board Game Maniacs YouTube page. You can also check out our live streaming videos onto our Twitch channel. We are going to live stream too as well on Facebook in the future. You can check out our Instagram account too if you want to be kept up to date with all the Board Game Maniac stuff that's going on. Because it's turning to be a Maniac for 2019. That's right. We have a lot of stuff planned into the future. And we are including you in every bit of it, because without you, we would not be where we are today. I know that. You know that. If not, you know it now. I thank you very much, because you guys are awesome. Help supporting the channel. subscribing, commenting, liking, sharing. You can even go to our Patreon account, patreon.com/BoardGameManiacs, or you can go to streamlabs.com/BoardGameManiacs1, and you can make a very small donation if you want. If not, you're just showing your love by watching the videos, subscribing, and commenting. That is showing love right there. You're taking time away from your busy schedule, and nothing is more important than your own time. That's right, and you're doing it out of love for Board Game Maniacs, and we appreciate that. Whew! So until next time, Board Game Maniacs, communicate with everybody. Communication is key. Communicate with each of your tanks so that you know how you can plan and strategize to win the game. But until next time, Board Game Maniacs, you know what I'm going to say, and I'm going to say it. And that is, be a maniac.
Hope you enjoyed that video. If you want to keep up to date with Board Game Maniacs, click on the like and subscribe button to be notified when more videos come available. If you want to become an official sponsor of Board Game Maniacs, go to patreon.com/BoardGameManiacs. Or you can go to streamlabs.com/BoardGameManiacs1. That's right, and you can donate to help keep the lights on, keep food in our bellies, and play more games. We'll purchase more games, more equipment to make Board Game Maniacs evolve and get bigger and larger because of you, the viewers. I thank you from the bottom of my toes to the top of my head for all of your support. And until next time, Board Game Maniacs, be a maniac.